This movie was the highest-grossing Korean film of 2024. After watching the entire story, you'll understand why this movie is so remarkable. Every part of the story hides terrifying mysteries, and I'll explain them all to you at the end. So let's begin. At the beginning of the story, we see two Koreans traveling by plane to Los Angeles. The woman's name is Warim and the man's name is Bong-gil. Both of them are involved in a very unusual profession, which you'll learn about as the story continues. As soon as they land at the airport, the manager of a wealthy man named Park arrives to pick them up. The manager explains that Park is a Korean-American businessman whose entire family left Korea and settled in the United States several decades ago. They are now extremely wealthy. Warim and Bong-gil then go straight to a hospital, where they meet Park's wife. The manager explains to her that the two of them specialize in removing evil spirits and lifting curses. Although Park's wife doesn't believe in these kinds of things at all, their situation has become so serious that they have no choice but to trust these two shamans. When Warim carefully examines Park's newborn baby, we learn that the child is suffering from a mysterious illness that no one has been able to cure. After performing several shamanic rituals, Warim realizes that the baby is under a terrible curse connected to his great-grandfather, who passed away more than 100 years ago. Warim then goes directly to Park's house to meet him. There, we learn more about her profession. In Korea, people like Warim are called shamans. They are experts at dealing with supernatural occurrences. Park then shares more information about his family. Every newborn in their family has suffered from some kind of mysterious illness. His younger brother also developed a mysterious condition that caused him to lose his sanity, and he later took his own life. In addition, his wife once lost a baby during pregnancy. Even though they finally managed to have this child, the baby is now in critical condition because of the same mysterious illness. After hearing all of this, Warim explains that everything is happening because of the baby's great-grandfather. Something wrong must have happened to him and they need to find out what it was. She also says she'll need the help of a few more people. We then learn that the baby's great-grandfather is still buried in Korea. The story now shifts to Korea, where we're introduced to an elderly man named Kim. He runs a funeral and burial business with another man named Young. In Korea, there is a tradition called feng shui, which is used to find the proper burial site for the deceased. It is believed that if a person is buried in the right location, they can rest peacefully in the afterlife. Kim and Young's team is responsible for finding these burial sites and handling the burial process. Today, Kim has come to exhume the grave of an elderly woman because she has reportedly been appearing in her family's dreams and causing them distress. Kim believes that humans are created from the earth, and after they pass away they return to the earth. From that same earth, new life will eventually be created again. This cycle continues until the end of time. After opening the grave, Kim notices that the elderly woman's body has no teeth. If anything is taken from a person's body after they pass away, if the necessary burial items are not provided, or if the burial is not performed properly, it is believed that the deceased spirit may return and bring misfortune upon the family. After asking the family a few questions, they learned that the woman's only grandson had kept her teeth as a lifelong reminder of his grandmother. Since this was considered improper, Kim returns the teeth to the body and buries her properly once again. The problem is resolved without much difficulty. Later, Kim and Young return home. Warim and Bong-gil have traveled from Los Angeles to Korea to meet them because Warim now needs their help. She explains everything about Park's baby and the mysterious problems surrounding him. Since Park is extremely wealthy, he offers them a large amount of money. Because of this, both Kim and Young quickly agree to help. Meanwhile, Park's mother still refused to accept these spiritual rituals. She believed it was completely wrong to dig up the graves of their ancestors to remove the curse. But Park was willing to do anything to save his baby boy. So the very next day, he traveled from the United States to Korea. After arriving, Park went directly to meet Kim. Kim asked him for every detail about his grandfather's life, including how he had passed away. Strangely, however, Park refused to answer any of those questions. Instead, he told them, "I'll pay you whatever amount you want. Just free me from this curse as quickly as possible." To lift the curse, it wouldn't be enough to simply exhume Park's grandfather's grave. His remains would also have to be reburied in another sacred location. Kim notices something unusual. Even though this is such an important matter, none of Park's other family members came to Korea with him. They then travel to inspect Park's grandfather's grave, which is located on a mountain near the border between Korea and Japan. Several foxes are wandering around the grave, which is considered a very bad sign in Korean tradition. As they examine the grave, they notice that Park's grandfather's name is not written on the headstone. Instead, it is marked with random numbers and strange symbols. Seeing this, Kim becomes very surprised. He wonders how the grave of such a wealthy family's ancestor could have been left in such poor condition. Is Park's family trying to hide the existence of their ancestors? Park then explains the situation. He says that his grandfather was a great national hero during the division of South Korea. He was buried with great honor, and the burial site was chosen by a famous local feng shui expert named Jizun. At that time, however, many people stole bodies and valuable belongings from graves. So instead of writing his grandfather's name on the headstone, they marked it with random numbers so grave robbers wouldn't realize it belonged to an important person. Kim still isn't convinced. If Park's grandfather had truly been such an important figure, his grave should have been protected and treated with honor, not hidden away like this. After observing the area for a while, Kim quickly leaves. Warren asks him, "What's wrong? Why did you leave like that?" Kim explains that the entire area is heavily cursed. No grave should ever have been placed there. If they disturb anything at that location, their lives could also be put in danger. That evening, Mr. Park meets with Kim and Warren again. During their conversation, Kim mentions that his daughter's wedding is scheduled for next month. He says he would be very happy if Park could attend the ceremony. Hearing this, Park becomes emotional and tells them, "Just like your daughter, I also have a young son. Right now he's fighting for his life. Please save my child." After hearing Park's heartfelt words, Warren decides that they will perform a spiritual ritual while exhuming the grave so that the evil forces cannot harm them. After hearing this plan, Kim agrees to work with them to help save Park's family. So the very next day, they prepare for the spiritual ritual at the grave. Park's aunt also arrives. She is the daughter of Park's late grandfather, and her permission is required before they can begin. After receiving her approval, we see that 5 dead pigs and 5 workers have been brought to exhume the grave. The 5 pigs are meant to protect the 5 workers so that any evil forces will strike the pigs instead of the people. The 5 workers are blessed through a ritual before they begin digging. At the same time, Bongil and several others play traditional instruments while Warren performs a mysterious ritual dance. Warren's ritual is so intense that, during the ceremony, she sacrifices a pig and drinks its blood as part of the ritual. By the time the ritual is complete, the grave has been fully excavated. After examining the coffin, Kim realizes that reburying the body somewhere else won't solve the problem. The spirit has become attached to every bone in the body. The only way to free it is to cremate the entire coffin so the bones are completely destroyed, allowing the spirit to be released. After everyone climbs out of the grave, the last worker notices a snake with a human-like head emerging from the ground. Without thinking, he kills the snake. The creature lets out a terrifying scream. Immediately afterward, the sky fills with dark clouds. Heavy rain begins pouring within moments. No one understands why the weather has changed so drastically. Even through the storm, they transport the coffin to the crematorium. However, they cannot cremate it right away because cremating a body during heavy rain is considered a bad omen. So they place the coffin in a storage room and wait for the rain to stop. As time passes, Kim becomes increasingly suspicious of the Park family's history. He sets out to find the feng shui master named Jizun. Finding information about Jizun isn't difficult because there is only one temple in the quiet village. At the abandoned temple, Kim questions an elderly man and learns that no monk named Jizun has ever lived there. In fact, none of them have ever heard that name before. This makes Kim even more suspicious. If Jizun had truly been so famous, there should have been some record of him or his grave there. Kim then asks the old man about Park's grandfather's grave. The man says that he has heard about the grave on the mountain. Many years ago, groups of grave robbers used to go there, but none of them were ever seen again. However, several of the digging tools they left behind are still stored at the temple. When Kim examines the tools, he notices several iron rods among them. Meanwhile, a hospital attendant learns that the coffin under his watch belongs to a famous person. He assumes it must contain gold and other valuable belongings. While no one is watching, he opens a small part of the coffin. The moment he does, Park's grandfather's furious spirit escapes from inside. The instant Warren senses this, she collapses unconscious. After she regains consciousness, she tells everyone that the spirit has escaped from the coffin and that they must calm it down as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, the spirit travels directly to Los Angeles. There, it hypnotizes its son and enters his house. The spirit first takes the life of its own son and then takes the life of his wife as well. As soon as Warren learns about the spirit's destructive actions, she performs another ritual and allows the grandfather's spirit to possess Bongil. Warim is trying to seal the spirit back inside the coffin through the ritual. But speaking through Bongil, the spirit tells Warim, "I will wipe out my entire bloodline because they abandoned me and never cared for me." After saying this, the spirit leaves to search for Park. While Park is inside his house, he receives a phone call from Kim. Kim tells him everything, explaining that his grandfather's spirit has escaped. The only way to survive now is to cremate the coffin immediately. Kim explains that after Park's grandfather was buried, the family never performed the proper religious rites or paid him the respect he deserved. Because of that, his spirit is filled with anger. Kim tells Park not to leave the house because he is on his way to protect him. Just then, Park hears someone at the door calling his name. The voice sounds exactly like Kim's, even though Kim is still on the phone with him. Kim is on the phone with Park, but someone who looks exactly like Kim is also standing outside the front door. The Kim outside shouts, "Open the door quickly, Park, you're in serious danger." At the same time, the real Kim on the phone tells him, "Don't open the door. Your grandfather's spirit may be outside trying to harm you. Open the window and stand on the ledge instead." Following the instructions from the caller, Park opens the window. The moment he does, his grandfather's spirit enters the house. This reveals that the one on the phone was actually Park's grandfather's spirit, because the real Kim enters through the front door at that exact moment. By then, Park's grandfather's spirit has already possessed Park. We also learn how Park's family became so wealthy. Park's grandfather was actually a traitor. During the war between Korea and Japan, he betrayed his own country by providing valuable information to Japan in exchange for a large amount of money and gold. Park's family built their wealth from that money and gold, but over time they completely forgot about their grandfather. Because of that, he emerged from the grave filled with anger. Right in front of Kim, the spirit kills Park. Just before losing consciousness, Park tells Kim, "A fox tore through a tiger's chest." Kim cannot understand the meaning of these strange words. Meanwhile, the spirit heads toward Los Angeles to take the life of Park's baby. To save the child, Kim tells Bongil and Warim to cremate the coffin immediately. However, they still need Park's aunt's permission because she is now the only living member of the family line. Kim calls Park's aunt and begs her to give permission. If they waste even a little more time, the spirit may also take the life of Park's newborn baby. As soon as she gives permission to cremate her late father's body, they cremate the coffin. With that, Park's grandfather's spirit is finally released, and the remaining members of Park's family are freed from the terrible curse. Just as everyone begins to feel relieved, no one realizes that this was only the beginning of the story. The real mystery is only about to unfold. A few months later, Kim learns that one of the 5 workers who helped excavate the grave has become seriously ill. When Kim visits him, he learns that the man has been suffering from terrifying nightmares every night. In those dreams, a snake with a human-like head keeps chasing him. None of the doctor's treatments have helped. The man tells Kim that everything started after he killed the strange snake on the day they excavated the grave. After hearing this, Kim sets out alone to find out whether the man's story is true. He returns to the grandfather's grave and starts digging again. There, Kim discovers the severed head of the snake. The human-like appearance of the snake's head frightens him. It's worth mentioning that in Japanese mythology, this snake with a human-like head is called an onna. It is commonly associated with water. This creature plays a very important role in the story, and I'll explain everything after the story ends. Kim becomes even more curious. As he digs deeper, he realizes that something else has been buried beneath the ground. Before long, he discovers an enormous coffin buried vertically underground. Kim immediately calls Bongil, Warim, and Young to the site. Together, they pull the massive coffin out of the ground. None of them can understand what such a huge coffin could possibly contain. They also wonder why it has been tightly wrapped with barbed wire, and why such an enormous coffin had been buried vertically beneath the grandfather's grave. By then, night has fallen. Transporting such a massive coffin seems too dangerous, so they decide to remain on the mountain for the time being. They go to the elderly man's house in the nearby village, the same man Kim had questioned before. They ask if they can keep the coffin at his house for the night, and he agrees. Before leaving it there, they surround the coffin with rice and horse blood while performing protective rituals to seal it, so that no evil force can escape from inside. After that, Kim and Warim go to meet the late grandfather's daughter. When they arrive, they ask Park's aunt, "What are you hiding from us about your father?" The elderly woman replies, "I don't know anything about this. Please leave." Kim then says, "I've investigated your father and learned that he was a traitor. During the war between Korea and Japan, he secretly helped Japan. I believe that's why he was buried in a hidden place without his name, so that history would erase his existence. The woman immediately objects. That can't be true. The person who chose my father's burial site was Japanese himself. How could a Japanese man deliberately bury someone who helped Japan in such a terrible place? She then reveals that the man they knew as the monk Jizun was actually named Murayama Junji. Hearing this raises even more questions, and none of them have any answers yet. But by the end of the story, everything will become clear. Later, while sitting in the car, Warren calls her older sister and asks about the Japanese man named Murayama. The moment her sister hears the name, she becomes frightened. She says, "I heard about him from my master." Everyone knew Murayama as the Japanese fox. He was an incredibly powerful monk. After hearing this, Warren realizes they are dealing with something far more dangerous than they expected. She silently remembers her grandmother, and in a mysterious way, her grandmother's spirit appears to help her. Later that night, everyone goes to sleep at the elderly man's house. Around midnight, the old man hears a strange noise coming from the storage room and goes outside to check. At that moment, Bongil wakes up and sees the elderly man standing over him with severe injuries across his chest. The old man keeps repeating, "He tore out my liver." After hearing this, Bongil quietly recites several protective chants and frees himself from the spirit's influence. Everything feels unnatural to him, so he goes outside to investigate. From a nearby farm, he hears pigs squealing loudly. When he goes to check, he finds an enormous creature, nearly 8 feet tall, that has torn apart all of the pigs. Not only that, but the creature also tears off a shepherd's head. Seeing this, Bongil quickly runs into the storage room. There, he discovers that something has broken out of the coffin after smashing through both the coffin and the roof. Terrified, Bongil calls for Warim. At that moment, Warim's grandmother's spirit warns her not to go because she senses the terrible danger ahead. But Warim ignores the warning and goes with Bongil to inspect the coffin. Bongil leaves Warim there while he goes to bring the others. Inside the shattered coffin, Warim finds the helmet of a Japanese general. They realize that whoever had been inside the coffin was Japanese. They immediately try to call the others. Just then, the enormous 8-foot creature appears in front of Warim and asks, "Is there a human inside?" Warim immediately bows her head and says, "I am your servant. I'll do whatever you ask." The creature then asks, "Did you bring me any fish?" It turns out the creature loves eating fish. Since Warim hasn't brought any, she apologizes. At that moment, however, the creature realizes that Warim is human. It immediately launches a deadly attack on her. The moment Bongil sees this, he rushes forward without any concern for his own safety. Bongil grabs an iron rod and tries to stab the creature in the stomach, but the creature's body is as hard as stone. It immediately grabs Bongil, tears open his abdomen, and badly injures his liver. By then, the others have arrived. They are frozen in shock after seeing such a terrifying creature with their own eyes. A short time later, roosters begin to crow, signaling that dawn is approaching. The creature immediately transforms into a massive ball of fire. It circles above their heads for a while before disappearing. At that moment, everyone present experiences strange visions. From what he sees, Kim realizes that the creature's true power comes from fire. Just as fire burns brightest at night and becomes weaker during the day, the creature is also strongest at night and weaker during daylight. Bongil is rushed to the hospital. His condition is extremely serious, and Warim is heartbroken because Bongil once promised her, "As long as I'm with you, I won't let anything happen to you." Kim also apologizes to everyone, believing that Bongil ended up in this condition because of him. Warim says, "How can we fight something like this? We could defeat spirits because they had no physical bodies. But this creature has a real body. We may not be able to win." Meanwhile, the creature's spirit possesses Bongil once again. Now completely under its control, Bongil says, "My master is protecting something buried beneath the ground." After hearing this, Kim returns to the old man's temple to find out what the creature has been guarding. There, he discovers a book along with several digging tools that had been used by the people who came to excavate the grave. Kim also finds a photograph showing those people posing with several iron rods laid out in front of them. These iron rods hide a terrifying secret that will soon be revealed. Meanwhile, Warim calls her 2 sisters to help remove the spirit from Bongil. As they begin performing the ritual, Bongil strangely says, "My master has taken more than 10,000 lives and he is still buried in the grave." After hearing this, Kim returns to the grave once again. He wants to understand how the general could still be inside the grave even after the coffin had already been removed. After searching for some time, Kim discovers that the creature is still lying buried underground in a deep sleep. The sight terrifies him, and he immediately tells Warim everything. At this point in the story, several mysteries become clear. During the war between Korea and Japan, Park's grandfather betrayed his country and secretly helped Japan in many ways. The wealth he received in return allowed his descendants to become extremely rich. At the same time, among the Japanese forces was a monk named Jizun, who wanted to destroy Korea with all his heart. The name Jizun is also associated with the word fox. If you look at the shape of the Korean peninsula from a certain perspective, it resembles a tiger. That explains Park's final words before he passed away: "A fox tore through a tiger's chest." In other words, Jizun had pierced the heart of Korea. Kim learned how this was done after reading the books in the temple that night. The people in the photograph weren't grave robbers at all. They were actually Korean shamans who had gone there to remove the iron rods from the ground. Now it's time to reveal the real secret behind those iron rods. Near the end of the war between Japan and Korea, when Japan realized it was likely to lose, the Japanese monk Jizun secretly buried special enchanted iron rods throughout Korea. These rods continuously released negative energy, causing the land to become less fertile and making it difficult for crops to grow properly. The positive energy of the land disappeared, meaning the Japanese were trying to keep Korea underdeveloped by destroying the land's natural energy. Although Korean shamans managed to remove almost all of these rods, one of them was never found. Kim believes that this final rod is buried beneath Park's grandfather's grave. As Bongil said, his master was protecting something underground. That means the creature has been guarding the enchanted rod. Kim decides that he must destroy the creature and remove the rod to save Korea. However, Warim and Young are too frightened to go with him. Eventually they agree because they want to save Bongil. They notice that the creature injured Bongil in the only place on his body where no protective spell had been written. This suggests that the creature cannot attack areas protected by those sacred markings. So they write the same protective symbols on their own bodies with markers and head straight to the creature's grave. Their plan is for Warim to lure the creature away from the grave by offering it plenty of fish. While the creature is distracted, Kim and Young will dig up the grave and remove the rod. Everything goes according to plan. That night, the terrifying creature emerges from the grave. It slowly follows Warim. Using various spells and rituals, Warim manages to hide behind a tree. Meanwhile, Kim and Young continue digging the grave in search of the iron rod. Eventually, however, Warim comes face to face with the creature. The creature tries to attack her, but this time Warim's late grandmother's spirit appears and saves her. Meanwhile, even after digging through the entire grave, Kim still cannot find the rod. Just as he begins to lose hope, the creature transforms into a ball of fire and returns to the grave. As Kim faces what seems to be the final moments of his life, the creature launches a deadly attack. Just as it is about to tear out Kim's liver, Warim pours blessed horse blood onto the creature from above. The creature becomes weak for a few moments. Enraged, it grabs Warim by the throat and lifts her into the air. At this point, a series of visions reveals the complete truth about the creature, Jizun, and the missing rod. Jizun was an extremely powerful Japanese shaman who knew that, sooner or later, someone would discover the enchanted rods buried throughout Korea. But as long as even one rod remained buried, Korea would never be able to fully prosper. So, during the war between Korea and Japan, Jizun used the body of a Japanese general who had taken the lives of more than 10,000 Koreans. He removed the general's head and heated the general's sword, the same sword that had been used in those battles. He then forced the burning sword down through the general's throat and into his body. That sword became the final enchanted rod. Afterward, Jizun attached more than 20 animal body parts to the general's body, reattached the general's head, and buried the body standing upright underground. This symbolized a sword being driven into the heart of Korea. To protect this burial site, Jizun placed Park's grandfather's grave directly above it. Since Park's grandfather belonged to an influential family, his grave would receive far more protection than an ordinary grave. This also explains why the creature awakened. The creature had been created from the 5 natural elements: fire, water, earth, air, and iron. Kim knows that to break the power of the 5 elements, he must use their opposing forces. Fire is overcome by water, and iron can be resisted with water-soaked wood. Since the creature represents both fire and iron, Kim coats a wooden staff with his own blood, using it as a substitute for water, and attacks the creature. The creature immediately begins to weaken. After several powerful strikes from Kim, the creature is finally torn apart and destroyed. At the same time, Bongil is freed from the creature's influence as he coughs up blood. With the creature's destruction, the final enchanted rod is destroyed as well. Korea is finally freed from the Japanese curse. After this, everything returns to normal. We also see Kim's daughter's wedding take place. With that, today's story comes to an end. No matter what anyone says, the visuals, storytelling, and cinematography of this movie were all outstanding. Some scary facts about this movie. During the filming of the movie, they reportedly used a real shamanic chant because using fake chants was considered disrespectful to spirits. A real shaman was also present on the set in case anything unusual happened during the filming. Kim Go-eun later said that she felt chills on her face while filming that particular scene. Even some of the people who were present on the set reportedly said that they felt something strange after the scene was filmed. But the creepiest part came next. According to the story, the shaman believed that Kim Go-eun had actually summoned a spirit during the scene. The shaman quickly performed a ritual to address it and explained that Go-eun was simply an actress filming a movie. Whether you believe in spirits or not, that definitely makes the scene feel a lot more unsettling. Kim Go-eun is also one of my favorite Korean actresses, and she's incredibly popular in Korea. We've already explained one of her amazing movies on our channel. If you're interested, you can watch that video next. I've put it right here on the screen. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.